Roxane, we're facing a lot of challenges right now in the media, in the culture. Media, they're constantly evolving. They're enormously influential. And what is your thinking about the concept and the implications of civil rights in this moment in relationship to reproductive justice, the fall of Roe v. Wade, marriage equality, trans equality, racial justice? How have things changed as we've been in evolution following these Supreme Court decisions and the landscape we're currently living in?
That's a big question. And that's really three separate questions. Mm-hmm. And, the first is that the media influences a lot of our progress or lack thereof. And we see that all the time. For example, over the past week, the media has been obsessively documenting the Queen's death, even though we know what happened. And I say that without disrespect, but Puerto Rico is without electricity or potable water. And you wouldn't know that if you're not well read. And it's disgraceful. And that's how we get to a place where we are currently having the kinds of conversations we are about trans equality, about women's bodies and people with uteruses and our right to be unlegislated. Because the media picks and chooses what they cover, and it's rarely the most necessary conversations that they're covering. And that's why integrating feminism into a school of communication and information is so important, because the next generation of journalists has to do better. The reality is that we can focus on multiple things at once. We can talk about the death of a monarch while also talking about colonialism. And the reality is that we are still living the effects of colonialism in England, in the Caribbean, in the United States, in every European country, and frankly, almost everywhere around the world. We can also talk about what's going on in Iran with the protests because of the death of a 22-year-old Kurdish woman who was murdered by the morality police, which is a real thing. We can talk about what's happening in Puerto Rico and the fact that Puerto Rico is part of the United States, but you would never know it. We could talk about what's going on in Haiti, where there hasn't been a president for almost 2 years, and there are ongoing protests because there's no food, there's no water, and there's no gas. So I hope that in some small way I can encourage the future journalists of this country to think about what it means to cover the news and what the implications are when it comes to covering the news.